Hi, I'm Ashlyn Thomas, and throughout the semester, we've been learning how to break down our retail performance using real numbers. And so for this project, I've had a fun time stepping into the role of the category manager to walk through how this product line actually did this year. So when I initially looked at the scorecard, I didn't immediately think that this product had completely failed. The sales were only down about 1%, which isn't great, but is not a huge drop. The category had still brought in over $8.2 million this year, so that shows us that people are still buying our product. But once I continued to dig into the numbers a little bit more, that's where things started to look a little off. The biggest issue I noticed was our inventory. The inventory went way up compared to last year. The retail inventory was about 34%, and the cost inventory it had increased almost by 63%, which is a huge jump. And the problem with this is that our sales did not increase with that. So what that tells me is that we were carrying way more product than we actually needed. And as you can really see when you look at the turns in the weeks on hands, our units had dropped from 2.48 to 1.9, and our returns dropped as well. So that means the products are just sitting way longer before they sell. And at the same time, the weeks on hands went up from about 21 weeks to 27 weeks. So we're just holding on to inventory for longer periods of time, which ties up money and slows down everything. So that kind of leads into our next issue, which is the markdowns. The markdowns jumped a lot this year. Last year, markdowns were less than 1% of sales, and this year they dropped to almost 7%, and that is just a massive increase. So with that, in dollar terms, our markdowns went down from about 71,000 to 558,000. So basically we had just brought in too much inventory and it didn't sell fast enough, and then we had to mark it down just to move it. So with all of that, that also explains why our margins dropped. Our initial margin went from 51% down to around 42%, and maintain margin dropped even more, and that was down to about 38%. So we're not selling slower, but we're also making less money on each sale. So when you combine these slow turns with our low margins, that's where I really saw the impact show up in our GMROI. Our GMROI dropped from 2.65 to 1.19, which is a pretty big decline. And so that tells me that we're just not getting nearly enough return on inventory as we are investing into it. And one thing that I did notice is that our in-stock levels stayed pretty strong. They did drop slightly, but they're still around 98%. So it's not like we're losing sales because our product isn't available. Honestly, if anything, we probably just have too much product available. So yes. And our vendor performance did change a bit. Our lead time increased, which could make things harder to manage, but I don't think that is our main driver here. I think the biggest issue is that we just brought too much inventory in. So with that, what I would do moving forward as the category manager is I would focus is I would focus on our inventory and I would just pull back on those levels. I don't think we need to be holding over 27 weeks worth of product. I think that is just too much, and especially when our turns are slowing down. The second thing that I would focus on is improving those turns. I would suggest like cutting down on slower moving items and just tightening up and really focusing on what is selling. I would also try to focus on our markdowns a little bit better. The jump this year just shows our lack of planning with our inventory, and so if we can align with buying more closely with demand, then we won't have to discount as much. And finally, I would look at rebuilding those margins. Since our initial margin dropped so much, I'd want to look at our pricing, our cost, and our product mix just to make sure that we are protecting the profitability moving forward. So taking a step back, I think that this category didn't struggle because our customers disappeared. I think our main issue was internally, and we just had too much inventory, slow movement, heavy markdowns, and all in all, it just worked together and ended up hurting our performance. So those are my conclusions with looking at the scorecard. Thank you.